Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of the Trading Bootcamp. Now, this one I promise will be a very important trading concept. Now, you lot probably thought, oh, this is going to be so difficult to learn. It's going to be this massive concept. It's going to be so confusing. Well, don't worry, because it's not. This thing, the episode that you from episode 1 is staring at, is essentially your own brain. Because this episode, we're going to go over the numbers of everything and completely shatter that ego, and we're going to go over the numbers and what your expectations should be, how we're actually going to go there. Essentially, in this episode, we're going to turn it from a dream and a goal. Oh, I want to earn 5 figures a month. I want to earn 5 figures a month. We're going to turn it into a dream, into an actual plan, step by step. What are we going to do? How much do we need? How much money do we need? And the actual numbers behind it. And it's probably going to be a pretty humbling video. So make sure, again, you stay right to the end, because this is essential to know the actual numbers of trading. If you're just here to learn trading and whatever and not the numbers, you're going to get cooked, because you need to know the numbers. You need to set out a plan of what you're actually going to do. And this is what we're going to do. So it's you versus your brain in this one today, chat, because this is probably going to shatter some expectations and make you realise what this game is actually all about. So the numbers, right? First of all, risk to reward means nothing without win rate, and win rate means nothing without risk to reward. I'm going to explain everything in this video, so at the end you should know exactly what this means and why it makes sense and how you can actually use this going forward. So first of all, let's go over the RR, and then we're going to go over the WR. So RR, first is the definitions. What do they mean? So it's essentially made up of 3 definitions. We've got risk, we've got reward, and we've got risk to reward ratio. Now these can be abbreviated into R, and RR. I know it sounds kind of stupid because there's like, all of them are just R's, but trust me, it makes a lot of sense and it's not confusing at all. So if you want to compare it into like sports betting, which is probably what most of you have already done before, your risk can basically be translated into your stake, your reward can be translated into your win, and your RR can be translated into your odds, right? So if we say the stake is $10, we win $20, the odds are 2 to 1. We're essentially saying the risk is $10, the reward is $20, so the risk to reward ratio is 1 to 2. Okay, so you can see we just flip the numbers around. That's all we really do, right? And then so we'd call this. So say our stake is $10, we'd call this R, right? So this is our 1R. So R just means risk. So our risk is $10, so that is our R. Our reward is 2R, meaning it's 2 times our risk, right? So 20 is obviously 2 times 10. So our risk is 1R, our reward is 2R, which means our odds, or our risk to reward ratio, is 1 to 2RR, or we can equal that into 2RR. So for example, if this was $30, then it would be, the odds would be 1 to 3, which is the equivalent of this, which is the equivalent of this, right? And an example of that one I've just drawn out, we can look at the chart here. So this is essentially your entry, this is your take profit, this is your stop loss. You can see from the entry to stop loss, 100 pips. From the entry to take profit, 300 pips, which means the risk to reward ratio is 3, right? Because this, our reward, is 3 times as much as this, which is our risk, okay? Very simple stuff. And then that basically means, rather than saying I'm staking $10 to make $20, the odds are 2 to 1. You want to start saying I'm risking 1R to make 2R, and the RR is 1 to 2. So what do you actually need to know about RR? So the first thing you need to understand about RR is you need a positive RR. So you need a positive risk to reward ratio, or your losses will eat your wins. So I go for a minimum of 1 to 2. So a minimum of 2 RR. Now, reason being is, imagine how hard it would be to win the Premier League if every time you lost 6 points, more than you actually gained when you won a game. You'd never do it, right? It'd be impossible, because your losses are always going to be in your wins. If you have 2 losses on the bounce, that messes up a whole month's worth of profit, a whole month's worth of winning, which is exactly not what you want. We want to make this a downhill battle. We don't want to make it an uphill struggle. We want to make it a downhill battle, right? So if you look at this table, this sort of draws it out for you in an example a little bit easier. So you can see when we're using positive RR as we are here, so we're always risking 1 RR. And so that means when we lose 1 R every time, which, remember, in that example is the equivalent to $10, for example. But then when we're winning, we have in 2R, 3R, 2R, 3R, 2R, 4R, right? So always positive RR, which means we make money, but our losses don't eat it up. We only lose a little bit, and we overall always finish positive because our wins are eating up our losses, right? And you can see, after all those trades, even though we only had 5 losses and 6 wins, which sort of seemed like break even, most people would think, oh, isn't that basically break even? You can see we made loads of profit. We made 11R profit off of that. 11R profit, and the curve over time looks like that, which is a nice, healthy profit curve. So this is why risk reward is very important. You can imagine, right? Imagine this was the opposite way round, how hard it would be to make progress. If every time you won, it was 1R, then every time you lost, it was 3R. Right? You might have had like 4 trades in a row, 4 nice trades in a row. But then a loss is going to take you all the way back down. It's going to be impossible to ever make any progress. And risk reward is really, really important that you keep that positive and at a minimum of 1 to 2. So you're fighting a downhill battle and not an uphill struggle. Now, something to just note about risk reward is the numbers versus the reality. So a 1-to-1 is never truly 1-to-1 due to spreads and commissions. Now, the broker takes commission every single time you close a trade, which is essentially your payment for using their service. So every time you go on your phone, you place a trade and you make money, you go on their app or whatever, and you place a trade, you make money, you lose money. They need to earn off you using that app. So that is essentially their inbuilt payment, is commission every time you close a trade. And obviously, the bigger the trade, the higher the commission. And this drawing here is just to represent what that really represents in the market. So similarly to everyone thinks a roulette wheel is 50-50, right? They think, oh, it's half black, half red. So if I just bet 100 times, or if I just bet on it 1,000,000 times, then I'm going to enter break even. I'll end up break even. No, if you entered it 1,000,000 times, you'd end up losing, because it's actually not 50-50. The greens make it like 48% or something, 48%. So it's never actually 1-to-1, and that is what I'd equate trading to. So it's not actually 50-50, it's more like 48-48, because you always get that little chunk taken off of you. So therefore, if you put 1,000,000 trades on at 1-to-1, you'd never break even, you'd end up losing on average, because of those little, as I said, those are the little chunks which take out your profit. So nothing really too important, but it's just to get you to understand the reality of the game we're actually in right now. So the next definition we're going to be explaining is win rate. Now, I don't really need to give you a definition of this. Everyone knows what a win rate is. So essentially, if we have 100 trades, 50 wins, 50 losses, we have a 50% win rate. If we have 100 trades, 30 wins, 70 losses, we have a 30% win rate. Very simple. Everyone knows what a win rate is, right? We have it in all types of different sports or whatever. So everyone knows what it is. But I want to ask you, right? Would you rather be trader A or trader B? Trader A with a 50% win rate, or trader B with a 30% win rate? Let me know in the comments what you'd rather be. Pause the video, don't cheat, pause the video, comment which trader would you rather be. Now you've done that, let me actually break down the difference between trader A and trader B. So let's look at trader A first of all. So again, they both have 100 trades, and they both risk $10 per trade. So again, going back to this example here, right? So they both risk $10 per trade, and they all had 100 trades. So, as we said, trader A had a 50% win rate, and trader B had a 30% win rate. However, this is the crucial part, the risk to reward ratio. When we add in the risk to reward ratio, everything changes. So you see, trader A had a shit risk to reward ratio of 0.5R, so a negative risk to reward ratio, versus trader B, who only had a 30% win rate, but he had a nice positive 3R average RR. So now let's go to the results, and you can really see what I mean when I say that risk reward means nothing without win rate, and win rate means nothing without risk reward. So you can see here, obviously 1R equals $10 because we're risking $10 per trade. So you can see this trader with a 50% win rate would have had 50 trades, 50 wins, and the wins were $10 each, equating to a total wins of $500. However, the 0.5 RR means his risk was double his reward. Right, his risk was double his reward. So, for every loss, he lost $20. Meaning $20, 50 losses, because a 50% win rate, means he lost a total of $1,000, giving his result minus $500. So even though he had a decent win rate, 50% win rate, his RR caused him to lose money. Versus trader B, who obviously had the much worse win rate, but a very good risk-to-reward ratio. So you can see his wins were a lot less wins, only 30, but he had a positive RR. So he risked 10 and a 3 RR, which means his reward would be 3 times his risk. So 30 trades, $30 each win means he won a total of $900. And then obviously he lost 70 trades, a lot more than this trader, but 70 trades with the same amount of risk, which is $10, meaning his total losses was $700 and his result was plus $200. So now hopefully you can see what the relationship between these two is. Now what I would compare this to, right, is on the left here, trader A. So this trader is like the equivalent of someone who would tell you, oh, I'm so good at betting, you know, I've got a 90% win rate on bets. But all they do every time is they just back Liverpool to score over 1 goal. Or over 0.5 goals. Like, or they'll bet Haaland to have a fucking shot. Do you know what I mean? And it's really easy to have a 90% win rate. That doesn't necessarily mean you've made a lot of money. Versus trader B, that doesn't win, doesn't have nowhere near as good of a win rate, but they'll actually back bets with good odds. Essentially, that's the difference. So it's really easy for trader A to say, oh, I'm sick of betting, I've got a 90% win rate, oh my god, yeah. Because you're betting obviously absolute certs. You don't really get much from predicting that. Versus trader B, who obviously knows the numbers a lot more. He's obviously watched this fucking video and he's got it all broken down, and he realizes that relationship is extremely important, and he's obviously paid off for it in the tune of $200. So now you should be able to explain exactly what this means and why it makes sense, and you should understand this statement in its entirety. So that's the first part of the video. Now let's get into the most important part, the part that everyone cares about, the money, right? How are you actually going to make that 10 bags a month? How are you going to make that 5 figures? The actual money aspect. So those definitions were just to prime you for this. This is actually the mission now. This is actually what are we after. So the first number that's important is 5% a month. Now this is what you're going to be aiming for. And I know what you're thinking, fucking hell, 5% a month, that doesn't seem like a lot. Don't worry, you're going to get some. I'm going to explain how you can make that 10k. Don't worry. Alright, I'll explain how I did it. You can copy what I did. It's fine. Just let me fucking explain first. So, first of all, it's impossible to make more than that consistently without increasing your risk. And obviously, if you increase your risk, it's not going to give you long-term success. Only going to give you short-term success. We're in this game for long-term success. We want to be fucking 50 years old on a yacht in Monaco, doing whatever we want to do. We don't want to be making money for the next 2 years and then living in a council estate for the rest of it because we don't have any discipline. That's not what we're after. We're after long-term success, right? And that takes short-term dedication. So, 5% per month, risking 1% per trade. That's 5R per month, right? 5R per month. Doesn't seem like that much. So, let's actually break down the numbers of this and what I mean by increasing your risk or whatever. So, if you're risking 1% per trade, so remember, we're risking 1% per trade, and we're making, at the end of the month, 5%. Now, 5R is the key number, right? We're making 5R. That's our actual return. That's our multiplier that gets this 1 to this 5, because we're making 5R. Now, we can't make more than 5R. That's impossible. You can't make more than that 5R. It's just unrealistic that you're ever going to be able to do that. You've got to think the best investors in the world, if you can beat the S&P, so essentially if you can make like 10, 12% a year, you're seen as a really, really good trader. So understand, you're not going to get those numbers monthly. Alright? 5% a month is a great return to make. So we've established we can't make the multiple any bigger. We can't make more than 5R. It's just not going to happen. So that means the only way to increase this 5 number is by increasing this 1 number.
What if I told you could double that?
So, for example, we risk 1%, we make 5%. We could risk 20%. With the same multiplier, we still would have made 5R, which means you would have made 100%, which means you would have made 100% your account. You would have doubled your whole account. Now, this seems all well and good, but the issue with this is, if you look at this one here, this means we can have 100 losing trades on the bounce, and then our account will be blown, versus this on the right, we can only have 5 losing trades on the bounce, and then our whole account is blown, and we have no money to play with, no money to trade with. So it's all about long term. It's all well and good having this 20%, and this is what I mean by the end here. You may make a huge amount 1 month, so you may make 100% 1 month, but then you blow it all the next month because you have 5 losses and you can't sustain it. With this, we have 5 losses. It doesn't really matter. That's just 1 month's worth of profit. It's only 1 losing month. However, if you do that on this side, 5 losses in a row, that's your whole account gone. That's your whole slate. Boom. See you later. You're starting again. So now we've established the reality behind it and what we're actually aiming for, which is 5% per month. And again, I would recommend risking 1% per trade in order to achieve that. So, we want to make 10 grand per month as established in the first episode. We want to make 5 figures. So, therefore, we need 5% of our account to equal 10k because we want to make 5% a month and that be equal to $10,000. So, if 5% is 10k, that means 100% will be 200k. So now we know what we need. We need a $200,000 account making 5% a month. So now we have the two variables. The two variables to our success, the only two variables in this whole thing. So the amount of different things you're going to learn and everything you're going to learn, these two here, these are the two variables that matter. The only two variables are the account size and the return you're making. You need to make sure you do two things. Number one, you need to make sure you have a $200,000 trading account. And number two, you have to make sure that you're able to earn 5% per month. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? I don't have $200,000 to trade with. Oh my God, I'm fucked. So how, like, what? No. I thought this was for me and now I can't make. Don't worry, all right? Don't worry, right? None of us did. None of us who did this had $200,000, right? And we've already gone over the numbers. So you see when you see traders driving Lamborghinis and fucking doing all this and that, right? Cars that cost 100 grand. Do you think they did that off a fucking £1,000 trading account that most of us retail traders would have initially? Because I know when I was working my 9 to 5 coming into this, I would put like $1,000 a month into this. Or like even like $500 a month. And even if I saved up, that's still, you're never really going to have more than like 3-4 grand if you're an average person starting out. And there might even be one of you watching this that's got like 20 grand starting out. But even think about 5% a month of $20,000. It's not a lot. It's still only $1,000, right? So I'm going to explain the reality of how this is actually done. None of these traders you see on Instagram or anything like that are trading their own money. None of them are trading their own money. All of them are trading other people's money. And I'm going to show you how I trade other people's capital with zero risk. Zero risk, and how you can do the same. And as I said, don't worry, you're going to get some. I'm going to explain how you don't need to have $200,000 and you don't need to cry like the chud. Alright, so I trade a company's $200,000 trading account and keep 80% of the profits I make. And they cover any losses incurred. So I am at no risk. If I win, I get 80% of it. If I lose nothing. Now, if I make 5% in a month, that means I make $10,000 profit. 80% is mine, 20% goes to the company. So therefore, I make $8,000 with no upfront capital and no risk of ever losing. And you can also do this in a month from now. So this whole process takes a month from start to finish. You can do this. It will take a month and it requires no fucking track record. No track record. You don't need to provide anything at all. And don't worry, there'll be a full episode breaking this down and a full episode on how you can do exactly this. That will come later on in the mentorship, later on in the bootcamp. But you got to watch every episode leading up to that because it's all ordered specifically. So when you will be ready for that when you get there. You're not ready to learn about it fully. So I'm just testing the water right now, just teasing you, letting you know the reality of it. But don't worry, right? Don't be the chud. Don't worry, you can be a giga chud even if you are a chud, right? You are going to get some, and we are going to tell you how you can make $10,000 through trading even with zero upfront capital and zero risk to yourself. Right, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've watched the two most boring videos, the two most boring things. Not going to lie, those two concepts aren't really interesting at all. But congratulations, because you've made it through the only two boring concepts. Now we've got that out of the way. Now every episode from now is going to be something interesting, going to be something you really, really learn, going to be a whole new concept you learn. For example, and this isn't a little trick one like the last one was. The next one is genuinely a trading concept that is going to be very, very crucial to how we trade. And as I said, now we should know what trading is, what target we're working towards, the numbers, and how to spot a trend/direction. And next we start how to trade and how to analyze the market like a pro. So these first two are really just getting you ready. And now, as I said, starting with episode 3, they're going to be the real body of the trading concepts, the real meat of what you're going to be using to analyze the charts and make money. So, as I said, the first two are very boring and you've been disciplined and you've got through those two. Number 3 is going to be, a lot of you probably already know what the concept's going to be that we're going to go over, but it's going to be so important. So many people get it wrong. So many people don't understand it. I'm going to explain it to you in a way you'll understand so well, and I guarantee you, after you watch the next video, you are going to see a noticeable improvement in your trading once you understand everything that I go over. So yeah, it's going to be a very big one. And as I said, this isn't a trick this time. We are actually going to be learning how to trade and how to actually analyze the market using one specific concept that I'm going to be bringing you. So appreciate you watching. As I said, 100 likes, boys. 100 likes on this vid, and the next one comes straight out the very next weekday. So as I said, I'm live every single day, Monday through Friday. I'm live at 8:30, and then Matey's live at 1:30, all on this channel. So I'm there to help out, boys, whenever you need. and hopefully you've been enjoying this boot camp. As I said, right, this is just the start. Now you're ready. Now you've been primed. Now you've sharpened your swords, and hopefully tomorrow if you hit the light goal. But tomorrow or whenever the light goal hit is when we're into battle. We're going into fucking battle. We've sharpened our blades and we're going into battle in the next few episodes, boys. So I look forward to seeing you there. Congratulations for making it through the 2 boring ones, because it's about to get a whole lot more interesting now. Big up to everyone who tuned in, and I'll catch you in the next episode, people. Sweet.